You walk into a room, open your laptop, and somehow you are online. Your phone starts loading messages. A video begins to play. Your TV is streaming in the background. Maybe your smart speaker is doing something mysterious in the corner. And all of this feels so ordinary that it is easy to forget how strange it really is. Because there is no cable plugged into your phone. There is no visible wire connecting your tablet to the internet. There is just this invisible connection in the air that somehow keeps your devices linked to the digital world. And that raises a very good question. How does Wi-Fi actually work? What is really happening between your phone, your router, and the internet beyond your home? Why does the signal get weaker in certain rooms? Why does it slow down when too many people are online? And why can something that feels so simple also become so frustrating so quickly? In this video, we are going to break that down in a way that is easy to picture. Wi-Fi is not magic. It is a hidden system built from radio signals, local networking, physical internet connections, and larger infrastructure beyond your walls. Once you understand that path, it starts to make a lot more sense. The first thing to understand is that Wi-Fi is not the internet itself. Wi-Fi is the short-range wireless connection between your device and a nearby access point, which in most homes is built into the router. That wireless link is only the first step. The router then passes that traffic into a wider network that eventually connects to the internet. That distinction matters more than most people realize. When people say, "The Wi-Fi is down," they are often using one phrase to describe two different problems. Sometimes the wireless connection inside the home is the issue. Other times, the signal between the router and your device is perfectly fine, but the router itself has lost its connection to your provider. From the user side, both problems feel the same, but technically, they happen in different parts of the system. So let's start with the simple version. Wi-Fi allows devices to send and receive data through the air using radio waves. Your phone has a small wireless radio inside it. Your laptop has one too. Your router has one as well. Those radios communicate by sending information back and forth in tiny pieces at very high speed. That is the local conversation happening inside your home. When you tap a website, play a video, or send a message, your device is not sending one giant block of information into the room. It is sending lots of small pieces of data very quickly. Those pieces travel wirelessly to the router, and the router sends the response back in the same general way. That is why Wi-Fi can feel so immediate. The exchange is happening incredibly quickly, even though you cannot see any part of it. But the router does not generate the internet all by itself. It acts more like a traffic hub. On one side, it talks wirelessly to the devices around it. On the other side, it is usually connected to a physical internet service entering the home through cable, fiber, or another broadband line. In some homes, there is a separate modem or fiber terminal involved. In others, the functions may be combined into one box. Either way, the wider internet usually reaches the home through a physical connection first, and then Wi-Fi distributes that connection wirelessly inside the space. So when you load a web page on your phone, the path usually looks something like this. Your phone sends a request through the air to the router. The router passes that request into your home's wired internet connection. That connection leaves the house, moves into your provider's network, travels farther out into the wider internet, and eventually reaches the server or service you are trying to access. Then the response comes all the way back through the same chain. That is one reason Wi-Fi can be so misleading as a concept. The wireless part is only the beginning of the journey. The part you experience directly is short range and local. The rest of the trip depends on infrastructure far beyond your home. Now let's talk about the radio part, because this is where Wi-Fi starts to feel invisible in a very literal way. Wi-Fi uses radio waves, which are a form of electromagnetic energy. That may sound technical, but the basic idea is simple. Information can be carried through the air in a controlled signal. Your router sends those signals out. Your devices receive them. Then your devices send signals back. That exchange happens over particular ranges of radio spectrum, often called bands. You have probably heard of 2.4 GHz and 5 GHz, and more recently 6 GHz. You do not need to memorize those numbers. What matters is the general trade-off. A lower band, like 2.4 GHz, tends to reach farther and move through walls a bit better. But it is often more crowded, which can make it slower or more unstable in busy areas. Higher bands, like 5 GHz and 6 GHz, can often move more data and feel faster, but they usually do not travel as well through walls and distance. That is why the Wi-Fi near your router may feel excellent, while the signal in the back bedroom feels weaker. It is not random. It is a combination of distance, physical obstacles, and the kind of signal being used. Once you understand that, a lot of everyday Wi-Fi frustrations start to make more sense. Your router is not filling the house with some perfect invisible blanket. It is sending radio signals into a real physical environment. Those signals have to move through walls, doors, furniture, appliances, and other signals competing for space. So Wi-Fi is not just about strength, it is also about conditions. In a large house, the signal may weaken simply because it has too far to travel. In an apartment building, nearby networks may crowd the same channels. In a busy home, several devices may be active at once, all sharing the same local wireless system. And in awkward layouts, some rooms may simply be harder to reach well than others. This is why router placement matters more than people expect. If the router is the center of your home's wireless conversation, then where you put it changes how well that conversation spreads through the space. A router hidden inside a cabinet, tucked in a far corner, or blocked by too many solid surfaces, often has a harder job than one placed more openly and centrally. That does not mean router placement solves everything, but it does explain why Wi-Fi can feel dramatically different from one room to another. Now, there is another thing people often overlook. Wi-Fi does not only have to carry information, it also has to manage who is allowed to join the network. That is where security comes in. When you connect to a Wi-Fi network, you are usually not just joining it casually. There is a process happening in the background that confirms your device has permission to connect. Once connected, the traffic is also typically protected so that the information moving between your device and the router is not simply floating around in an open, readable form. That is why your password matters. Without that kind of protection, wireless networking would be far less practical. A home network would be much easier for nearby strangers to join, and the idea of private everyday internet access would be much shakier. So even though Wi-Fi feels casual from the user side, there is more structure underneath it than most people realize. And once you step back, the full picture becomes much more interesting. Wi-Fi is the local wireless layer inside the home. The router manages that local traffic and passes it onward. The broadband connection links the home to the provider. The provider's network carries the traffic farther out. And somewhere beyond that, the wider internet takes over. That means your wireless internet experience is actually a chain of systems working together. Some of those systems are in the room with you. Some are in the wall. Some are under streets, inside cabinets, in utility spaces, in network facilities, and far beyond your neighborhood. That is why Wi-Fi is such a perfect example of hidden infrastructure. It feels personal, invisible, and immediate. But what feels like a simple household convenience actually depends on radio engineering, physical broadband connections, network equipment, service providers, and much larger internet infrastructure all quietly doing their jobs. That is also why good Wi-Fi is never about only one thing. Sometimes the issue is the router. Sometimes it is the location of the router. Sometimes it is the band being used. Sometimes it is crowding from too many devices or too many nearby networks. And sometimes the wireless link is fine, but the internet connection feeding it is the real bottleneck. From the sofa, those problems can all feel the same. From an infrastructure point of view, they happen in different parts of the chain. And that is what makes Wi-Fi so interesting. It feels effortless when it works well. You open a device and the world is simply there. But underneath that, ease is a carefully layered system, moving information from one place to another, first across a room, then out of the house, then across a much larger network. So the next time your phone joins a network, it is worth pausing for just a second to think about what is really happening. A small radio inside your device is communicating with another small radio in the router nearby. that local signal is being handed off into a physical broadband connection. From there, it moves into a much wider network that stretches far beyond your home. And then, in a fraction of a second, the information you asked for makes the whole trip back again. No visible wire, no dramatic machinery, just a room quietly filled with infrastructure. That is how Wi-Fi actually works. And like so many hidden systems, the better it works, the easier it is to forget it is there at all. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe to Hidden Infrastructure of the World. Also, comment down below what hidden infrastructure you want to see next. See you in the next video.